And hi again, guys. It's Brian, and we're doing the update on our F-18 Hornet for the Blue Angels. This kit was gifted to us by Mr. Pappy Fred Henry, and we are doing our bestest on this. We're taking our time. I did want to have this done by 4th of July. I thought that would be a nice deadline to have done, but things get busy around holidays and jazz. Plus, there was some stuff going on and all that kind of junk, but we don't need to get into right now. However, we have made a milestone on the kit build. We have the two halves of the fuselage glued together. Yay! Just did that yesterday. I did want to take a break from the bench after the 48-hour build. You know, just put it around the house, get some stuff taken care of, and all that kind of things. The things that you think of while you're sitting at the desk working on a project, and you're like, oh yeah, I should take care of that. I'm like, hey, I should probably go take care of that. So I did. But yeah, we're plugging away on this little guy. It's not a part heavy kit. I don't think most airplane kits of this scale are. But there is. We just want to do a good job. We want to do Fred proud. So we're working our fingers to the bone, not literally, but struggling a little bit here and there. I made the mistake of using this Tamiya extra thin cement, and this says it's quick setting. That is not a lie. That stuff will melt this particular styrene faster than ice in the sunshine here in Arizona. I'm used to using this stuff here, which will give you some time, and almost too much time sometimes. But with the quick setting stuff, you squeeze something together, dribble a little bit of that stuff on there, and it's there. I'm like, oh, uh-oh, that wasn't exactly where I wanted that. So I did have some issues with the intake nozzles or collars or what have you, and I've been sanding those down to get them a little more flush to the rest of the fuselage, and those look pretty good now, I think. There was a little bit of burring and stuff going on around where I was doing some sanding, and I had found out this tip by watching somebody else in the modeling community. When you get burring and stuff like that, especially if you're doing like the inside of a burner or a exhaust pipe that you drilled out or something like that, you can't sand it. Just give it a little bit of a coat of this stuff here, and that'll melt everything back down to where it's supposed to be and give it a nice glossy finish. So I didn't realize that you could use cement in that fashion, and it's been helping me out on this kit because I've had a few areas, you see where it's kind of glossy through here, had a few areas where it wasn't too pretty, so we did that on there and it cleaned it up real nice. So I'm like, that is really that was really slick. Another thing that I'm having some trouble with is the panel lines on this little guy are very, very shallow. So we're struggling with not sanding away too much stuff. So I'm going to have to go back and repanel line some things here and there. And we see primer oversprayed on the fuselage. That's because we sprayed primer on the inside and inside of the upper and lower halves, and then glued in our ejector seat. There we go. And then did all of our decaling and stuff, and then glued everything together just last night. We had it all clamped up and stuff, and I think it did pretty well. Something that Kurt over at KH Model said is to watch out for this Z shape right here, because that is that's a bummer. He wasn't wrong. I think Charlie Mack also talked about that being a little bit of an issue. So I tried to pay particular attention to how that fit joint was going. I did sand I didn't really sand, I filed the back half of this a lot. And that brought that into a lot closer together. I mean, that otherwise it's something you can see through to the other side of the plane. So we got that squeezed down, and got them. They're not actually glued together, but we got them introduced to each other, I think is the best way to say, to the point where I can go over that with some tulip. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, this is what I like to use. This stuff here. I use it just like the way you would apply caulking. So you just squirt it onto the joint and then go back over with a wet cotton bud or your finger with a little bit of lick, and just go over that, clean off the excess, let it set up, and then go back and check it, because sometimes you get a pinhole or something like that, especially if you have a little too thin. And then reapply as needed, and then after it's set up, it's waterproof. So you can go ahead and wash everything, and then I've sprayed Tamiya primer over Tulip before and haven't had any issues with that as yet. So that is the plan, is to fill in those areas there with some Tulip, and then finish off some sanding like up here where we have some squeeze out. What are you looking at, camera? There we go. Some squeeze out from our clamping. We'll take care of all that. And then stick on our nose cone. I don't think that's fitting very flush because the two halves are a little bit disjointed. You can see the top half of the fuselage is a little bit farther back than the lower half. So yeah, we're going to, it's got a bit of an underbite going on there, but we're going to get that sorted out so that everything's going to fit up nice and flush. And then get this off to the wash bin, and then after that to the spray booth. So we're hoping to get that far today. We did paint up our pilot, and it looks pretty good. I haven't painted a figure this small in a very, very long time. And what I found amazing was that Tamiya flat blue, let's see, XF8, yeah, flat blue is a really good color for this particular plane. I just followed the color callouts that were on the instruction sheets, and I think that looks okay. I mean, he's not a beautiful little person because he's molded sort of incorrectly, but you know, it is what it is. And it doesn't look too bad. He doesn't look too bad. He gives the plane visual interest, but not enough for you to actually want to drill in and take a close look at that guy. But this poor little dude, look at him. He's like, "Hey, Doc, I'm suffering from a lot of back pain." Doc's like, "Well, you're suffering from a bad case of clamps, son." It's like, "Well, doctor, everything that happens in Vegas is supposed to stay in Vegas." Like, "Yeah, but you take the clamps home with you." That's a PSA. So, yeah, I did do a little bit of a flesh tone. Well, I didn't do flesh tone. I did, what is it, buff. Yeah, XF59 buff for the face. It's a little too tan. A little too tan for my taste. It's not pink enough, but again, not a major part of the build, so they will be going in there. And then the fuselage, the canopy, I just went ahead and mocked it up and then cemented it together. I'm hoping that that'll help out with the masking process when it comes time to paint that, because the masks, the mold lines on this, the panel lines, I should say, are very, very light. Extremely light, to the point where I may have to make up my own. So I hope that goes well. That's always been a sticking point for me when it comes to doing plane kits, is masking the fuselage. But we have some new techniques we want to try that we've been researching on YouTube through the modeling community, people who do planes and stuff like that. Ben Builds, he always is a good source of information for doing canopy stuff. I kind of like how he attacks it. All right, y'all, have a great Thursday. We're going to get back to work here, and we'll see you in the future. Bye now.